The theories are back. The internet is once again throwing around all sorts of Star Wars maybes and guesses and thises and thatses. Who's its and what's its, some valid, some batshits. It feels kinda nice. I kind of missed the whirly-twirly roller coaster ride of no one knowing what the hell's going on, but thinking they do when it comes to Star Wars guesswork. It is Tuesday, November 24th. And it's been 5 days since the last episode of The Mandalorian came out, which was titled The Siege. I've seen screenshots of this tank slung around on social media willy-nilly, and I ask you, when is it okay to put this kind of stuff in thumbnails? Or throw it around on social media, or not worrying about spoiling anyone? I think 5 days is personally okay. That's why I had no qualms about throwing this image up as a thumbnail. Hell, I'm one to say 24 to 48 hours after the episode air is cool. Who's with me?
What's in the tank?
The last episode of The Mandalorian definitely answered a lot of questions, but it posed even more. We now know for certain that what's left of the Empire, Gideon, the scientist, they want the child for its blood, basically for its M count, its midichlorian count. The scientist talks about transferring the child's blood into subjects' bodies. They're creating something. What are they creating? That's the big mystery. Here are 4 guesses that I've seen ping-ponging around the internet. Number 1, these are experiments to create what would ultimately become Snoke. This is instantly where my brain went when I first saw this scene, and I think that's what was actually intended for all of us to think. The music that plays during this scene is very similar to Snoke's deep, creepy, guttural theme that we heard in the sequels. I won't say it's identical, it's kind of hard to tell, but you know, it's there, the comparison is there. And I think my brain instantly went to this guess because The Rise of Skywalker is still relatively fresh in my brain, and I can picture clear as day those Snoke tubes full of floating Snokes. Now this could be a bait and switch, which is fine by me. I like when stories do that, especially Star Wars. The obvious kind of turned on its head, right? It makes for a more enjoyable ride on the roller coaster when you're not able to predict everything that's coming at the next turn. But that's my guess. We're seeing the birth of what will ultimately lead to Snoke. But who knows? Anything that I mention here is just as plausible as this. Number 2, another one that I've heard ping-ponging around the internet is that Moff Gideon is trying to create Dark Troopers. Now, Dark Troopers first appeared in Star Wars Dark Forces, which is a part of Legends. Dark Troopers are technically canon because they appeared in Star Wars Commander, I guess. But they are definitely less prevalent than they were in Legends, at least at this point in time. Dark Troopers were experimental combat droids created as part of the Galactic Empire's Dark Trooper program. That's pretty much all that's written about them in canon. Now in Legends, the description goes a little further. There's actually a couple descriptions on a couple different pages for a couple different things. One Dark Trooper entry that is linked to Dark Forces says they were advanced battle droids and infantry exoskeletons that featured heavy plating that resembled the armor of a stormtrooper, blah, 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 blah. There's no mention of any force abilities, I don't think. I don't believe so. Now, where you do find a mention of the Force and Dark Troopers are actually in a different Legends article with the same name that says Dark Troopers were a group of elite stormtroopers empowered with the dark side of the Force used by the Dark Empire during Operation Shadowhand. These Dark Troopers first appeared in a 1995 comic called Duel on Nar Shaddaa. So yeah, maybe Gideon is attempting to create an army of force-powered super soldiers. Maybe that's what we're seeing at the end of Season 2, Episode 4. You could absolutely interpret that scene as hinting at something like that. Maybe not necessarily Dark Troopers by name or by history, but something like that, right? A force-sensitive army of force-sensitive troopers. I don't know. Number 3. Another one I've heard is that Moff Gideon is trying to give himself some power. Sure, I mean, it's as good a guess as any, I suppose. And these volunteers, I think they called them volunteers, are willing to give themselves up and become experimented on for the cause of Force Gideon. Maybe. I mean, he certainly seems like the kind of guy who'd want to stick a needle in his arm and become super duper powerful, if that's the way it works. I didn't get the vibe that this was the direction the show would go in, but it makes complete sense. I mean, if the plan is to figure out how to extract and inject force-sensitive high M-count blood into Snoke or into an army, then why not inject it into yourself too? I mean, if it's as easy as hooking up an IV in the back of a Walgreens to make yourself a little more force-sensitive, then sure. All these goddamn theories could be right? I mean, if it's that easy, if it becomes that easy, if the goal is that easy, I don't know. I really hope that's not the case, though. Some of these ideas sound super fan fiction-y to me. Number 4, another one that I've seen is that they're trying to create a new Palpatine body. This makes as much sense as any other guest theory, whatever you want to call it, that I've heard. It might actually make the most sense. I mean, we know that there have been Palpatine clones. We know that's a thing. The rise of Skywalker, blah, blah, blah. And this could be the birth of that idea. We're seeing the prototypes. We're seeing the experimental phase. We're seeing the R&D, the research and development of bringing back a new Palpatine, right? It kind of makes more sense to me than any of the other ones, knowing what we know. I can see a bunch of Imperial loyalists giving themselves up to further the study, knowing that they're contributing to the possible return of their dear leader, right? I could totally see that. This makes sense to me. So yeah, there's a lot of other ones. Who's right? I don't know. But like, if one's right, then it almost seems like all of them could be right? Does that make sense? Like, if Gideon is creating an army of powerful droids or Force stormtroopers or whatever, then why not give himself the power too? If the experiments work and it becomes as easy as extracting and injecting to give yourself these abilities, then any of these theories could be correct, right? Obviously, I think Mando and crew are going to put a stop to most of this coming to fruition. I think they'll prevent this widespread Force army or whatever from becoming a thing. But yeah, I don't know, man. Your guess is as good as mine. And what is your guess? What's your guess? Toss it down in the comment section below. There are a lot of guesses out there. Let me know what you think. HelloGreedo, out.